Justin Bieber too, they like to look like the victim and the hero at the same time, you know? Like, they're the martyr, everybody can depend on them, everybody can rely on them. Welcome back to No Light Tarot. My name is Hallie, so grateful to have you all. Yeah, let's get into this reading. I am doing one on Danny Masterson. I'm going to do one on him, and then I will do one on him and Bijou Phillips. So this week I'm skipping the couples update. Stay tuned for next week because I have another special, very special requested video coming out in place of the couples update. Okay, so let me read the charts. If you don't know, let me just give a quick backstory. Danny Masterson has just been convicted of R-word for 2 people. The third Jane Doe was hung, meaning that they couldn't come to a resolution. The jury can come to the resolution on the third person because she was his ex-girlfriend. But he has been convicted of R-word for 2 people. I strongly believe he is guilty. I strongly think he did it. People are like, why did it take so long to come forward? But if you follow the trial and you saw like the information and so forth, it's very clear that he's guilty. This Church of Scientology just suppressed, in my opinion, suppressed the information that came out. Yeah, and it's a whole big thing. I'm not doing a video on Scientology because it's not my place to judge. But there are some things that go on in that church that I don't agree with. Okay, so he was just convicted. His wife, Bijou Phillips, is just filed for divorce. I'm not sure if it's a real divorce, but we'll find out here because some people are saying it's a scam. Okay, a lot to take in, a lot to do right now. But let's get into it. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. If you like my videos, please like the video and subscribe. If you watch more than 2 videos, subscribe. It doesn't hurt you to do so. Also, feel free. Some of you have been leaving super chats. Thank yous. I'm very, very appreciative of that. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's read Danny Masterson's chart. By the way, Danny Masterson used to be on that 70s show. I still love that show. Yeah. His sun is in Pisces, his moon is in Leo, and his rising is in Cancer. His Venus is in Aquarius. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Also, I dated somebody who was a Pisces, and one day we were talking about astrology and he was like, you know, the most serial killers are Pisces. And I was like, wow, something to know or to be proud of or something, you know. I feel like a lot of Pisces, particularly male Pisces, can have very weird, like, sadistic stuff going on. So yeah, anyways. So I pulled up past, present, future, and then I will do him and Bijou Phillips, which I find very fascinating, those 2 together. So with the past, okay, 5 swords, King of Cups, and Knight of Swords. Okay, so I have a strong feeling. I don't know too much about him. I just followed the trial, but I don't know too much about his personal life. But this is energetic, and when I pull up from the cards, I see that he had to be like the mature one. I think he might be the oldest, right? I don't know that for sure. I know that his brother was on Malcolm in the Middle, and I still have a huge crush on his brother. But he is definitely, in his family, he had to grow up fast, which is not uncommon for a lot of Pisces. I think Pisces are generally like the 12th zodiac, and a lot of them are very wise, old souls. And because of that, I think a lot of parents leaned on him as a young kid. I think he has his own trauma. I think something happened to him when he was young, and that's why he behaves the way that he does. Also, I'm just reminded of this TikTok that I saw, what was actually a YouTube of a TikTok that was made by someone named Doc Dunn, and she was talking about a night she went out with him in Hollywood Hills in his house, and him and Bijou were fighting, and it's very interesting to see that. If I can find it, I'll link it below. So with the present, it's actually on Growing Up Scientology. I love that channel. So with the present being the Emperor, excuse me, 8 of Coins and the Judgment. Okay, so right now he's looking at money. He's a very money focused person. And now that I'm saying that, I'm just remembering when Bijou Phillips wrote a letter that Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis wrote too, a conviction letter, a character letter of conviction to lower sentences. That often happens. And she said that he had started a wine company. Started to grow wines and worked at the vineyard because he's a very survival-based person. Which, you know, if you know anything about the chakras in yoga, the root chakra is, and I've read about this in Louise Hay's book a long time ago, but a lot of people that are convicted of or into like sadistic stuff, they have misaligned root chakra, which is often associated with money too. So that survival, that primalistic, that primitive, energy is definitely aligned with that. So he's very energetically, he's obsessed with power, he's obsessed with control, and he's obsessed with being seen, especially with the Judgment card, being seen as somebody that is the best. And I have seen that shadow side in Pisces. I'm going to give you a story again. This person that I'm talking about that I dated before, he has many great qualities, so I'm not here to say anything bad about him, but something that I noticed that he needed to work on, and we'll get to the Bijou Phillips because it's very similar to what I noticed about this particular guy that I dated. But when it came to, I would tell him something, like he'd be like, okay, how's your day going? I'm just giving him an example because I don't want to like fully out it. He'd be like, okay, how's your day? If I said something, if I was honest, I was like, I'm not having such a great day, he would tell me exactly what he thought that I needed to do in order to have a good day. Never mind like asking me, why isn't your day going well? How do you feel? It was, he lacked personable empathy. And I was talking to a friend about this later, and he was like, you know, I tell all my friends, don't tell your girlfriends exactly what to do if they're having a bad day, just listen. And I see that similar energy here, is that I feel like, I'm not saying the guy I dated is an R word, but I see lots of similarities in the fact that the Sun in Pisces, the shadow side, and I see this in Justin Bieber too, they like to look like the victim and the hero at the same time, you know? Like, they're the martyr, everybody can depend on them, everybody can rely on them, but deep down they have secrets that they're trying to hide from. I don't know if that makes any sense. Please write in the comment section if it doesn't make sense, because I can always clarify. So with the future being 5 of Coins, Ace of Cups and Ace of Swords. I'm not trying to say anything bad about the guy that I dated. I think he's a phenomenal person. We all have things we need to work on, and it was just something that I noticed. It's like this passive aggressive sense of control, you know? And I've seen it a lot. I've seen it in a lot of Sun and Pisces, especially the men. So 5 Coins, Ace of Cups and Ace of Swords. I see very strongly here that with the future, that things are going to get very dicey for him. Obviously, he's been sentenced in 30 years plus, but he's going to try to appeal that. And when he tries, oh wow, there's a new love coming into his life. Well, there's a new love coming into his life, and this is very interesting. I always find this very, very fascinating, that there's always like some sucker, whether it's a man or a woman, who falls for a type like this, you know? And this person's coming in and they're going to think, they're thinking in their mind, their mentality, that Danny is soft and is kind and is sensitive, but really it's all an act. And he might be sensitive, yes, but I think he's very good at compartmentalizing who he is. And we'll get into the Bijou Phillips because I think she did have a sense of what was going on, 100%, and that TikTok confirmed that. But he's very good at showing who he needs to show when he needs to show it. And that's also something that I've seen in a lot of Sun and Pisces. So the bottom deck being 7 of Coins, which in traditional deck is Pentacles, about money. He's going to use this new person. He's a user. He uses people. And he's going to use this new person as a way to get his money. Now, I think it might be linked to Bijou because she has filed for divorce. I want to break that down because I find it very, very fascinating, because I think she did know. No matter what people say, you either have extreme blinders on. If your husband or your boyfriend is some form of shadiness, you know, is into some form of sadistic behavior, people either put on blinders or they either know and they're too afraid to do anything about it. And I really strongly believe that most of these partners of these cruel, evil people, they know what their spouses or their partners are capable of. So this new person, this new woman, is going to help him. Is going to help him with money. He's going to kind of help her. She's going to help him invest in something. I get like maybe Bitcoin, something like that, something digital. With 3 of Coins, Ace of Coins, and the Empress. Yeah, she's going to help him invest, but he's going to dupe her. So they're going to move. He's going to move on. They're going to get married. I get 5, maybe in 5 years. But they're going to move on, get married, and then she's going to come out and be like, he duped me. He's just one of those people. There's just those people in life that they can't tell the real truth. There's always another agenda, you know. They're not straightforward people. He's not a straightforward person, you know. And I was talking to a colleague the other day about dating, and he said it to one of my colleagues, really, really funny. And he was like, if I tell you, if it's 7 o'clock and I ask you the time and you say it's 9 o'clock, we've got a problem. And I was like, that's exactly it, you know. And he's one of these type of people that you ask him what color the sky is and he'd be like, it's gray, but it's this, but it's that. It's never blue with these kind of people. Never blue. So the Magician and 5 of Wands, I get very strongly here that he's going to have like, oh my gosh. Because this is just giving me a flash of what happened with Bijou that I think happened, and I'll do it in a moment. But he likes to have a choice of pickings of women, and he likes women to be fighting over him. And this is what's going to happen with her. She's going to fight for a certain amount of time, and then she's going to give up. So that's what I have for you about that. Please like if you liked it, comment. I'd love to have to say. I'm moving on to Bijou now. Bijou Phillips and him. Too much of the cards. By the way, I'm using the Crystal Magic Tarot for this reading. Yeah. So let's see. I'm gonna do the past, present, and future. There'll be time stamps on too. Okay, so let's see here. I'm gonna read her chart too. I believe her sun is in Aries. And then I'm gonna tell you guys a story because I find it very fascinating. Okay, so Bijou. Okay, the sun is in Aries, her moon is in Libra, her rising is in Aquarius, and her Venus is in Taurus. So with his Venus being in Aquarius and her Venus being in Taurus, it already indicates to me that it's 2 fixed signs. One of them is about freedom, Aquarius. The other, Taurus, is about possessiveness. Taurus can be very possessive. So, and Aries, 2 sun and Aries, very possessive. So I get the strong sense energetically that, like I said before when I just did the video on him, she had to basically fight amongst other women for his attention. And I think there's some stuff going on with her dad. I heard her dad was like involved in absolutely awful stuff. But it just gives you a sneak peek to her subconscious and what kind of healing she needs to go through. She probably never ever really did, which is very unfortunate. And you see it a lot in generational Hollywood, you know. A lot of these women that come from lines of Hollywood are very messed up because a lot of them, their behavior is looked past or not ever really exposed because of their fame. So, and I have seen some of her past past co-stars have said she was horrible to work with. Certain areas can be quite a trip. Certain areas can be very bully type. Not all the time, but I'm just saying the shadow side. And from what I see, she really hasn't worked on her shadow side. So with the past, present, and future, let's start with the past. Ace of Coins, Ace of Cups, and Four of Swords. Interesting. So I think here, when they met, he caught her in a very bad phase in her life. I don't know too much about this story, it's just what I'm picking up. He got her, like, they met when she was in a very bad phase in her life. And it's almost like, I see like a car. I think she might have been like kneeled over by a car or like throwing up, something like that. And he gave her water. He cared for her, you know. And I say that a lot about Sun and Pisces. You know, they'll do things that are nice to have control over that person. I've seen it a lot. So, and you're like, oh my gosh, this person's such a good person and they're caring, and then you start to see the shadow side, and it's almost like very trippy. That's how I can see how Pisces can be the most serial killers, because I can definitely see, and this is shadow side, I'm not saying all Pisces, but shadow side, they can be very manipulative. They watch people, they understand the person, and they see what the bad side is so that they can use it against them in the future. I've definitely experienced that. So the present, and I strongly feel like he saw her and she was like, I see like her thrown up by a car. I get that image. And he like helped her, and that's how they got to know each other. That's what I strongly see here. So with the Empress, Six of Coins, and King of Swords. So presently, he's being very cold to her, and that must be his Venus in Aquarius. He's being very cold to her, and she's trying to sort things out. I think why she filed for divorce was she was trying to sort out money matters. She was trying, okay, I think before, this is what I get very strongly, I just got this right now. Before he went into incarceration, he was like, it's not gonna happen. I think he told her, it's not gonna happen. I'm going to be set free. He gave her like this dream mentality, which is also very Sun of Pisces. He was like dreaming. It's not gonna happen. And then when she was trying, and I said this before about Justin Bieber, okay? A lot of the time when Sun and Pisces, especially I've seen it in the men, they don't like to get real about things. They love to stay in this dream mentality. And of course I'm generalizing because we're talking about a sign and the shadow side of the sign. But something Pisces really needs to work on is getting real. You know, earth signs are very good at that. They're very good at like being pragmatic and having things like follow exact rules and stuff like that. Sometimes a little too much. But water signs, Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio, can learn a lot from the earth sign element in that way. Because a lot of the time Pisces get overwhelmed and then they disappear. And I see that happening here. He got overwhelmed. He was shocked that he got convicted. Because he has this, I'm a celebrity, I'm a this, I'm a that. He was shocked he got convicted. And once he got convicted, he has disappeared. He wasn't returning her phone calls. He wasn't taking things seriously as seriously as she needed to. And that's when, you know, her Venus in Taurus is very survival, very materialistic, possessiveness. That's when she was like, I'm keeping the house, I'm keeping this, I'm keeping that. So this is actually backlash against him disappearing. I think she's very full aware of who she married. She's very full aware of who she is, but she's been able to have control over him, and now she doesn't. Now this is when she's going to pull the plug. So I don't think it's a shower divorce. I actually really think she means it. So with the future, because she can't control him anymore. So with the future being the Magician, 10 of Wands, and Page of Cups. Interesting. So I see her moving. I see her moving away from Hollywood. I see France, somewhere in Europe. It's interesting that her mother is South African. I said her mother was Genevieve. I don't know if you guys know this. I grew up in South Africa. My parents are South African. I don't consider myself South African because I feel like a foreigner when I go there. But we have a lot of French heritage in South Africa. In fact, my grandmother's last name was French. So a French Huguenot last name apparently. Yeah, just putting that out there. So I wouldn't be surprised if she has some French ancestry along her mother's side. And the name Genevieve, there's a lot of French influence in South Africa, even though it's English, Afrikaner. A lot of Afrikaners who speak Dutch have a lot of French influence, and that's why a lot of them have French names. My first boyfriend ever, his name was Francois, which is a very French name. Even though he's not considered French, he's considered Afrikaner. So it's very much like that. And I wouldn't be surprised, especially her mother's name was Genevieve White. What's her last name? That's a French last name. I wouldn't be surprised she has French ancestry that she wants to get in contact with, or get, you know, feel connected to that side, you know, because it is very fascinating when you like look at that kind of stuff. And I've always known, I actually did like a history class on it recently, but the French Huguenots, because my grandmother's last name was French Huguenot. So it's just very interesting to kind of put two and two together and be like, oh, this makes sense, or that makes sense, you know, and so forth and so forth. So there is a lot of hidden French influence in South Africa. That's where her mother's from. So I see her moving there. I get very French, lots of French influence. So if it's not France, it's a place that has a lot of French influence. With the Death card being the bottom of the deck, the relationship is definitely over. And yeah, it's over. And it's not a sham of a divorce. She actually feels like that because she can't control him anymore. She used to control him before by being angry and throwing tantrums. This is the story I was going to tell you guys. Okay, so like I said, I dated this guy who's Sun in Pisces, and I really don't want to be mean about him. This is my perspective. I wish him well. I have nothing but love for him. I think he's a great guy. But something that caught me off guard. I don't like to be crazy. I don't like to be over emotional. I'm not the type, you know what I'm saying? I like to stay calm and tranquil and stuff like that. But he would tell me stories about his ex, and which I don't really like, because I just feel like if you moved on from the past, move on from the past. But his ex was very much, in my opinion, like Bijou. And when I was watching the TikTok describing Bijou, reminded me of the stories he would tell me about his ex. And something that I noticed about Sun in Pisces, particularly the men, they like women that are a little unhinged. Not even a little, very unhinged. Because they feel, in my opinion, it makes them look good if they're with somebody that is unhinged, out of control, that they can have a victim story. Because the shadow side of Pisces is the perpetual victim, you know, being the 12th house, being the last, the 12th sign, being the last sign. You know, it's almost like at the end of every cycle, you either have to evolve or stay where you are. And a lot of Sun and Pisces struggle with evolving because they're like, oh, well, I already know enough, you know? But if they knew enough they wouldn't be alive, because life is about learning, you know. And I just noticed that I would always tell my friends, because people would be like, what happened between you and him? Because it was like a long story that went on for years. And I would always tell them, you know, if I were an unhinged person, woman that didn't have her life together, he'd be running to save me, you know. But because I'm normal and because there's not really much to me, I'm very boring. I go through phases where I don't drink. Right now I don't drink, so I don't provide that chaos that a lot of Sun and Pisces like, the men. And maybe the women too, but I've seen it mostly in the men because I've dated Sun and Pisces men. So I've seen that, is that if you're a train wreck, they're like running to you. You know, but if you're normal, it's like the opposite of what red flags are. So with the Devil, the Queen of Cups, Interesting and Justice, she's really going to go through with it. She's going to go through with the Divorce, Hierophant, the Hangman, the Emperor, and then she's going to write her tell-all. She's going to say he was nasty. She's going to paint him. And I do think she has played a part too, 100%. But she's going to make it seem like she's the victim, and it's going to drive him crazy. So that's what I have for you. I love to have to say. Please be respectful. It's very fascinating when I see things like this, but because it puts everything into perspective. Do you have your own personal story? I do really like to hear your own personal stories. Yeah, I love you all so much. Thank you for watching. Take care.